Everybody, it is me, Mike Vanderpool. I'm here today with the Make It Happen podcast. We were hanging out at the podcast room in the Toledo Tech Loft, downtown Toledo, in the heart of it all.
Yes.
Here today with Lewis Lane, a data engineer, all-around cool dude. I met, I believe, at Toll House. At Toll House.
Yeah, that was the first time. Yeah.
Had a good conversation over there. So I'm excited today to learn more about you, your story, talk about the company that you're doing some work for right now, some other things you got going on, and really importantly for me, helping people understand a little bit more about data. I think that's super important, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all of these social media sites, everything is all grabbing all our information. Our data is being used against us every single day.
Yeah.
So the more we can illuminate on what data actually is and how it's used, I think that's a cool thing to talk about.
No, absolutely. The other thing I want to throw in there, especially in this phase of AI hype, we have to be able to separate AI marketing from actual AI, right? And there's a lot of AI marketing going on. So yeah, we can touch on that. I think that'd be great.
Awesome. Yeah. So, all right, Lewis, tell me a little bit just about yourself. Where are you from?
Yeah.
And how'd you get here to downtown Toledo today?
Yeah, absolutely. So originally I'm from Chicago, but I consider myself a Toledo native at this point in my life. I met my wife here, had my kids here, got married here, bought my house here, went to undergrad at UT. Did travel away a little bit because I'm prior military. So served for some time, then came and did the reserve side of things. And then once I wrapped up with the reserves, I actually went and got my master's degree. So that's I consider myself a data professional. I know there's this term, data scientist, data engineer. Once you're actually in the data space, you realize that you wear all of the hats because these teams are usually quite petite or quite small, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah, got my master's there, came back, finished raising my family. I actually stay in the Old West End. So if you're familiar with Toledo, it's a historic district. If you're not familiar with Toledo, it's a historic district located in Toledo. Love the home. Never thought I would like a more traditionally formatted home. I always thought I wanted an open box with, hey, I can see my kitchen, my furniture.
Right. Open floor plan, right?
Yeah.
So, quick question. Those houses in the Old West End, how old are they?
My house is, I want to say 102.
Oh, wow. Dude.
102 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I absolutely, for sure, a lot of work. Right.
Yeah. Maintaining anything that old, bro. You and I get to 50 is going to be a struggle, right?
Well, you try to prepare the knees for it now and get ahead of it. So, yeah, no, it's a lot of the homes are older over there, but it's just beautiful. There's a workmanship that went into those homes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what do you like about Toledo? Why you stay? As a data professional, you could probably go anywhere, right? You could probably work remotely. Why are you staying here in Toledo?
Yeah, so Toledo is the thing that I love to say is that Toledo is probably the last place in America where you don't need to make an absurd amount of money to actually have some form of the American dream, right? I would say that most people, if you're in the $60,000, $70,000 range, you can still get a home, have the 2 cars, put your kids through school, buy groceries, etc. So that's a very unique feature of the Midwest, but more specifically Toledo. And then there's this other thing where you look at just our natural resources. I'm a big water advocate, big believer that we need to protect our waters, that water should remain clean. And look at the fact that we have the largest freshwater supply, not in America, just in the world.
Right.
In our back door, right? So you just look at a couple of those things, or the fact that you and I can just stumble upon each other in a place like Toll House and feel comfortable enough to have that conversation. Or there was an incident recently that I think will really just sum up what Toledo is. It's big enough where you can really make a name for yourself and make a way, but still small enough where you can, grab a beer with the mayor or actually have that type of relationship with city council. And it was an individual who had his food truck stolen. I don't know if you, I think it's like an African-based cuisine or something of the sort. But when you looked at the comments, a lot of the comments said it couldn't have been anyone from the community. And the community was Toledo, right?
Right.
That's unique. And we're a population of 200,000+ people or something along those lines. We're a pretty sizable population. And the fact that someone could get on Facebook and people agree and say, hell, no one from the community did it.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I love it down here. The environment downtown, at the Toledo Tech Loft, there's food, there's the Huntington Center, Glass City Center, all within walking distance. All have cool things going on. There's a tattoo show going on. You want to go get a tattoo after this?
You know what? I haven't had needle therapy in a while. That could be a thing. That could be a thing.
It's going on all weekend, man. So we'll see what's up.
And for sure, check it out. See what's going on, because I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. And I think there's a vintage clothing thing going on this weekend. So one of the awesome things is like, I'm not from Toledo, right? I was born in Monroe, so across the border, and just started hanging out downtown once Chris Eischen got the keys here to the tech loft. And like the amount of stuff to do downtown is just ridiculous.
You have to discover it, right? So I hear people all the time do this palace chasing idea of, I want to go to some big city, right? I can almost guarantee most cities are the same, right? They kind of have the same problem.
Yeah.
This is just it's a volume thing, right? Whereas
Correct.
you just have more or less people. And what I try to encourage people to do is live in Toledo, right? Go to the games, go walk around and do the bar hopping, or just figure out like, oh, what social clubs do we have around here, right? And once you start living in Toledo, you'll realize like, oh, there are some things missing, sure. But we're not missing a whole lot, right? Like, it's enough to keep yourself entertained, and those combination of things really make me comfortable to say, like, me and my family, we're going to be here for the long run.
Right on. Yeah. I think one of my challenges to myself this summer is to have a burger and a bourbon in every freaking restaurant. And I like downtown Toledo, right?
Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's good.
Right on. So let's talk about what you're doing right now. Mm-hmm. You're working for Hoopla, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Hoopla. What's up with them?
Yeah, so Hoopla, the best way, if you don't know about it, just think Netflix, but for your public library, right? So if there's a book you want to read, or an audiobook you want to listen to, or a movie or a TV show that you want to watch, and your library actually carries it, we're essentially your digital provider, right? So you can log onto Hoopla, consume that content for free, as long as you have a library card. And yeah, that's the best way to think about it. I honestly am quite impressed with the fact that it's a tech company located in Toledo, and it's one of those things that just kind of gets looked over.
So when people think that we don't have tech companies in Toledo, I mean, they're just dead wrong.
Yeah, and and to their credit, to their defense, I don't know if Toledoans or people who live in Toledo do a really good job at doing their own PR and marketing, right? Yeah. So I think there's this.
Hence this podcast. This is one of the reasons I even did this thing, was just to like help tell these type of stories.
And I wonder how many people sit here and they're kind of humble about the things that they're doing, or don't want to be very vocal about it, right? While I am a data scientist in this capacity, I lean more on the data professional side of things, because to be honest, I don't need to develop a model, right? I'm not doing a lot of natural language processing or anything that's in my actual field of study.
Right.
It's mostly just, how do we leverage this data, business intelligence, right? How do we leverage this data so that we are better as a company or organization at the end of the day?
Being more efficient.
Being more
time
efficient.
And money, right? I mean,
time, money, resources, absolutely, right.
So can you help me clarify, though, like data scientist, data engineer, and data professional, like what's the one-liner for each of those?
Yeah, so data scientists, I always like to think of, there's one side of being able to provide more certainty in the field of uncertainty, right? So just simply like the world is full of unknowns. We can provide more certainty by developing these models that can say, hey, I'm wrong in some way, but directionally you should be looking over here, right?
Okay.
Data engineer is going to be more of your pipelines, your architecture, your infrastructure, right?
Makes sense.
Establishing how data is moved around, how data is transformed, how it's stored, how it's retrieved, all of that.
So the movement of data.
The movement of data, the movement, the storage, the security. One can even argue the governance, right? Who owns what and why, when. And then
it's got to be fascinating, because copyright's got to be a big, huge piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
You guys.
Absolutely, right? But the cool thing, and I kind of applaud the company, because I'm going to be honest, when they hired me, because I'm a data professional, I think about how can we leverage this data in an interesting way. And then the last one, data professional, that's a term I personally use just because I've realized in my career, you're very, on the corporate side of things, it is very rare for a data analyst, a data scientist, a data engineer, a data anything to just focus on their domain.
Gotcha.
Right? So I've been in places where their analysts were actually doing engineering work, right? In a lot of places, one can argue that that's happening. Unless you have a big enough data team, then you actually have a data engineer. Data scientists surprisingly spend a lot of their time doing data engineering, data manipulation, data exploration, right? Data analytics work before they can even get to building a model or developing something more interesting. So that's why I just say data professional, because if you get into a workplace, and you think that, I have this degree in data science, we can leave that to the analyst, you're going to be very, very disappointed when you realize that, oh no, you're actually going to be doing that initial report.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. And what's your master's in then?
So my master's is actually in data science.
Okay.
And I would love to venture to this realm of making the differentiator between a data scientist and let's call it a data practitioner or something of the sort, right? And it's this idea that a data scientist is someone who has a field of study. So when I say I'm a data scientist, my fields of study are natural language processing and knowledge engineering. Like those are my domains. Okay. Sure, we can venture off and say things cross over, but I don't do computer vision, right? I'm not dealing with robotics. I'm not dealing with music.
So there's subsets in data science.
Yes,
absolutely. Based on specific domains.
Right. Okay. But when you get to the corporate world, a lot of data scientists are more so focused on the frameworks and the tools as opposed to actually understanding the theory. So what you run into is a lot of individuals who are really good at using PyTorch or Pandas or some type of Python library, right? And those individuals, I will not rob them of that title data scientist, but they're most of the times when they have a degree in data science, it is a not a boot camp. Yeah, a boot camp, right? It's a boot camp disguised as a degree in the sense of they're really good at using the tools, but the theory was skipped over.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
and just for some clarification, Python is a coding language that is used in the data space. Because it's a simple language?
Yeah. So for me personally, I want to say at this point, 2 years ago, I've converted over from Python to Go just simply because in my mind, the language shouldn't be your limiting factor. And a lot of the times individuals, they gravitate towards Python, not because it's more convenient or built better for data work at all. Like in my opinion, most data work is going to take place on the web or some type of computer. So you want something that's fast and can crunch through that data. But they're essentially allowing other limitations to become their standard, right? Okay. And that's what happened with Python. Python emerged in the scientific community because you have scientists who aren't programmers, who aren't developers, who needed a language that was easy for them to work with to leverage some of the compute power offered to them. Mm-hmm. So from there, a bunch of scientists got their hands on it, found out that you could do scientific computing. They were able to build up because they understood the theory. They understood like what a vector was or how to do these manipulations. They built up a rich repository and community around the data space, and then it just became the de facto standard, where in reality, most of your solutions in the data space aren't production ready. So you still have to ship that to some backend engineer that has to take your Python, decode it to another language such as C, Java, or something along
the backend
languages, and actually get it production ready and ready for production. So that's why I shipped it over to Go. Golang, which is another programming language, it was developed by Google. But I shifted over to Go personally because I wanted to have near production ready code. When I develop a model, I want you to look at it and say, oh, we can in theory just hide this behind an endpoint and just leverage it. And the other part, it offers me a lot of speed and convenience without me having to necessarily overthink things. So if I just want to be lazy and do a for loop, right? And just like don't think about time, complexity, or anything else, that for loop is going to chew through that data quite quickly. Okay. And then the last part is it's built for the web. I think that as data professionals, we get so fixated on our notebooks and our personal environments, we forget that there's an end user that needs to use this thing.
Yeah, the data means nothing to you as a data scientist. You may have come up with the best thing on the planet, but if you can't communicate that to the masses or the decision makers, nothing's going to happen.
Nothing's going to happen, right? So how do you have a language that gets you all of those results or gets you closer to that? This is me on my soapbox. I think Go is that, right? It's my personal favorite.
Google and Golang, if you want to sponsor this podcast, we're more than happy to take your money. And one other thing, just a baby step back a little bit. When you mentioned like PyTorch and there's MATLAB, there's other libraries which are pre-written Python code, which extends what Python can do, or makes it easier to do what Python can do because somebody's written the code for you. And those are things that data professionals have found useful.
Exactly, right. The best way to think about it is, and not to be demeaning or of any sort, but like an Excel function, right? There's a way to go through and leverage VBA to do a sum across all of your cells. Or you can use an Excel function that just sums across your cells. And those libraries, to me, in my mind, represent that Excel function as opposed to the VBA.
Makes sense. Well, okay, so we've probably lost half of our audience because we got pretty dirty.
Yeah, I got it. So
It's all good, man. Listen, bro.
Look,
it's all good.
My wife is probably tired of hearing these talking points, so you just gave me a platform to like kind of rip. And it's like, holy crap, Larry, let me take advantage of it. Yeah, no,
because this is the thing. I teach graphic design. I've been in the tech space for a long time, right? I've built coding boot camps, I've built data camps, everything else. I will argue the vast majorities in tech in the future are going to be data jobs.
Yes, of some sort. Yeah, and that even further supports the idea of a data professional, right? There was an individual, because I was attempting to apply for my PhD, and I was talking to this person, and she brought up a really good point. Like, and this is even a slight against me. Data scientists shouldn't be a thing. If you are a working professional, you need to work with and manipulate data. You should be able to do that work, right? So it's a domain expert who is really good at using data is going to be the standard, right? And I think that's where we're moving towards really quickly, and we're seeing that pop up, especially with this AI wave of everything. Is okay, you can manipulate the data. Now you need to be able to use these other tools, but knowing your domain really well is going to be your saving grace.
Join us on Thursday, September 18th for the AI Collective Toledo Chapter's kickoff event, AI's Impact, Real Stories from Local Leaders. Join Louis Lang, Justin Beaudry, Keith Instone, and many others preparing to cut through the hype and hear firsthand how AI is actually being used today in manufacturing, healthcare, education, and local business. Our panel of regional experts will share practical insights, address common concerns, and discuss what AI adoption really looks like on the ground. Register at our Luma event page today for Toledo codes. Looking forward to seeing you there. I'm here today with Louis Lang. We're talking data. We're talking Toledo. We're going to be talking about your own venture here in a little bit. But you mentioned AI. Mm-hmm. Data is, we don't have AI without data, right? Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say. Geez, you're going to get me down a rabbit hole.
That's what I want.
We think about the terms artificial intelligence, right? Just to do something intelligently, artificially, right? Through some type of process, through some type of steps. In my mind, it really depends on what your outcome is. If we're just simply saying that I want a system to automate something for me, to do something in an intelligent way, I would argue that artificial intelligence covers those types of automations, right? Because it's still doing something in an intelligent way. It's not just doing it at random.
It's like within the original idea of programs, it's a sequence of steps.
Yes.
A sequence of instructions that is followed formulaically and does not necessarily deviate unless it's programmed to have an if statement.
Deterministic, right? So and we're going into this world where we're stepping away from deterministic programming, which I think maybe prematurely. But we're stepping away from this deterministic programming to this more probabilistic model. And probabilistic just simply meaning that we don't really know what will happen, but we have a good idea of what could potentially happen, right?
Yeah, you can't predict the output.
You're right. That not with absolute certainty, right? And that's kind of the paradigm where we find ourselves in when we say AI. A lot of people just mean large language models. Yeah. And when we're in this frame of thinking, it's this, okay, we have a good idea of what's going to come out, but it's still uncertainty, right? There's some little movement there that can go left or right, and it's just like, holy crap, I wasn't expecting that.
Well, with large language model, I'm playing with Maya right now. Sesame came out with Maya. You can actually voice interact with it. I've dorked around with it a little bit, and what's interesting is how I'll cut it off during the conversation, and I'll ask it to repeat itself, and it says the exact same thing, but just different words.
Yeah, and that's a feature. Right. I think that's an amazing thing. It's this, and I don't know if it was you or someone else I was speaking to, but this idea of creativity and chaos kind of living at the same intersection.
Idea of happy accidents, right? As a creative, right?
Yes.
If you just have your staple of tools and you do things in the same way and whatever, so don't have the opportunity to spill a cup of coffee on it, or for the sun to come in a window and like show something in a different light, or to have the papers fluffled around and turned upside down to see, holy smokes, to give you a different view.
Absolutely, right? And so we almost have to embrace that level of chaos, especially with these new models, because a lot of people want to reduce like hallucination, for example. And the goal isn't to reduce it or remove it. I think it really is a feature of these tools. What you want to do is actually direct the hallucination in a specific way. I want you to be creative in this direction and not venture off, right? And having the right infrastructure, having the right tools in place to do that, I think is going to be the key success to these models. Mike, I'm going to be honest with you. We got down this rabbit hole And I know that you had an original question that you asked me.
I don't care.
Okay. So we just go ahead.
Here's what I've learned with nerds. A rabbit hole with a rope, right? Like we can go down that rabbit hole. I got a rope to pull you.
Yeah.
Because I've worked with technologists for a long time writing curriculum, and you got to have that freedom to explore, right? I mean that's part of it.
Yeah,
this freedom to explore. So I had no idea what I asked you in the first place either. Go back to
that works. Yeah. So no, the big thing that
I think it was this idea of AI and data being a foundation of AI.
Yes,
got us into the rabbit hole of what is actually AI. And we said it's originally, they thought like a programmed automaton that could play a song or a piano thing that played just the tumble wheel of whatever without actually having a human there was artificial intelligence.
Yes.
We've moved beyond.
We moved beyond it to the point where, yes, I will agree with you. And the reason I was given the original caveat, because I thought about it a little deeper, but yes, data is that field that's going to and has powered artificial intelligence in our age.
Yeah,
how we understand everything. So
perfect. And you're right though. Like when we think about AI and innovation, and as it applies to the masses, it's always going to be those most visible things at first, right? Everybody's all excited about creating the freaking little cartoon picture action figure versions of themselves right now, because that's the easiest, accessible, most visible thing for the masses to understand.
Absolutely.
Probably the most worthless part of what AI can do at some level.
Yeah. No, 100%, because it's someone said, I thought AI was going to take away all the things we needed to do, allowing us to do the art and the music. And here, everyone's using AI for the art and the music and not the other things. So
that's a fascinating point.
Yeah, and it's like when you really step back and think about it. To your point, it's absolutely the most approachable thing that people can think of. And that's why they're using it that way, right?
And it gives you those immediate results, right?
It does.
You type into ChatGPT, hey, write me lyrics for a song.
Yes.
Dumps that out. Hey, pop over into Suno, put those lyrics in there, write a Christmas song like this, and boom. And 30 seconds later, you got a #1 hit.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And so does everybody else.
And now you have me rethinking, do I really want to continue being a data professional? I mean, living the artist lifestyle could be a thing.
Listen, so here, one thing I did with AI, and I'm going to use air quotes because AI to me is almost as
it's an umbrella term, right?
Yeah. It's about as dumb as the word tech right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even know what the freak these things mean.
Yeah.
So I created a whole Christmas album, holiday album using AI.
Oh, did you publish it?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Oh,
I got 10 views.
Okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, Christmas is coming up, and I usually do the DMX Christmas song to get things kicked off.
Right now,
this could be an opportunity.
Christmas is timeless music, man.
Oh,
but I'm going to argue, as much as I've played with AI music, and I do it for my live streams, it's kind of my background.
Yeah.
It's very formulaic. You can almost tell, right?
Yeah.
But and this will make sense in a second. But it's not necessarily that. Okay, that was just a me testing. I love to test things and see what I could actually do, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I were to actually want to make an album, would I do it all with AI? No. I would use the AI to kind of spit some stuff out.
Yeah.
And even if it hallucinated, because there was a time, I don't know how this happened, but there was a time where it took a break from the song and I could actually like two people talking like they were talking in the studio.
Really?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So
cool.
like, yeah, but that's like, I would probably be labeled as a hallucination.
Yeah.
But that's something that's dope. And as long as I wasn't necessarily maybe using that and taking what AI spit out as my total final product, here, I'm going to put this out there now that's got this weird spot in the song.
Yeah.
Doesn't do anything. I think AI is going to reinforce for people that want to be more critical thinkers.
100%, right? It is removing let's call it boilerplate, right? I don't know if your audience, but just like the basic templates of your work. Like, okay, I go in, I need to do this thing. So here are these basic instructions I need to follow. But here's where the actual, rubber hits the road. This is where I need to actually think through the process and be really innovative or creative to get something out. So going with the music example, if you were to create a serious production, you still got to figure out publishing rights.
Oh, yeah.
You still got to figure out how to get the thing out and distribute it.
There's the marketing.
The marketing, right?
When the barrier, and sorry to interrupt, but when the barrier gets lowered to creation.
Yeah, everyone's going to,
you just got to find ways to stand out.
So with me, it is the perfect 80% tool, right? And I don't know, nor do I agree, and this is, maybe we can segue into this a little bit more. This idea of AGI or artificial general intelligence, I don't fully agree with that concept that it's something we need. I am a big believer that I don't think our models need to become smarter.
So can you start by defining AGI for people in the audience who don't know?
Yeah. So in a very, very simple way, the best way to think about AGI is you and I, right? We, in theory, can perform any task put before us without necessarily being trained on that task before the exposure point, right? So if I wanted you to pick up that notebook, you can pick it up, you can write something, and then in the same voice, you can go over and turn on the TV, and then you can go make a pot of coffee, right? It's this idea that you're not locked into just being able to write in a notebook. You're not a system that can only operate a TV. You're able to have general intelligence to just operate within your world to get things done.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
And let me just extend that a little bit. And then let's say that there's, I would train an AI to use a microwave, which is pressing buttons to get it to do things. Without programming it, I could hand it a remote control for a TV and it could use that because it's able to transfer what it knows from what's okay.
Yes. So you can
which is what learning is.
Yes.
It's ability to transfer knowledge.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
And that's almost the intelligent part, right? So when I say I don't think that our models need to become any smarter, the thing I always think about are glasses, actually, right? So when I look at glasses, they don't operate like eyeballs, right? They're not human in a human form factor. They don't self-lubricate. They don't move. They're just there. Yet it would feel a little silly if I said, we are not going to use glasses as a society, or we're not going to put these glasses into production because they don't operate as eyeballs. And you're like, well, hey, I can see pretty well with these in the current state. I don't think we need to develop these anymore, right? And we're at this weird point in this entire AI journey, AI conversation, where a lot of individuals are fixated on this idea of getting smarter and smarter models. And in my mind, that doesn't make sense. I'm a big believer that we just need to make our data smarter. And that's what I focus on, like with my own venture. We can for sure talk about that later. But I always love just throwing this thing out there with, how expensive do you think it would be if I told you that a PhD was going to make a cheeseburger for you? Pretty expensive, right?
Yeah.
So if we did the exact same thing, this is for the business owners out there. If you have a model that is so intelligent that it can solve rocket science, something in rocket science, just as well as it can write a SQL query, right? SQL is a query language used to retrieve data from a database. You would imagine that one of those things don't really seem right. Like either you're undervaluing the work for the rocket scientists, right? So, or you're overvaluing the work to actually write the SQL query. So you're either going to end up with a really expensive product to do very simple things, or you're going to end up with a really cheap product which would be wonderful, but now you have to wonder, was this problem difficult to solve in the first place? Mm-hmm. And I would say, yeah, probably some stuff that rocket science is.
Yeah, what problems are we actually solving, right? Once you get past the fun and games part of, okay, I can create an image of this, and I can create this, and I can turn me into a elf, or I can turn me into a goblin, or whatever the freak people are doing with these pictures. There's obviously entertainment value in a lot of tech and what we do, but what problems is it actually really solving?
Yeah.
Are those problems we're solving in that way?
Yeah.
Because of the cost.
Yes, right? And that's the thing where if you're a company, if you're a business, if you're an individual, and the only thing you want to do is build smarter and smarter models, eventually that cost is going to balloon. I know individuals are saying that eventually the cost will come down, but Claude, I think, is up to $200 a month. Like, that blocks out.
Seriously?
So Claude has a coding model that's at $200 a month. And that blocks out a lot of people, right? Your junior developer can't afford.
The digital divide is just
is going to grow, right? And
100%.
Geez, you're getting me down another rabbit hole on
That's what I do, bro.
Do we want traditional search to go away, right? I know a lot of individuals are excited about the possibility of having AI or a language model generated search, but eventually you got to pay for that.
Yeah.
And right now we live, and this is probably the last time if things continue the way that it's going, we live in an age where information, good or bad, is readily and freely available. You can get on and do a Google search and pull up most things, right? If I need to learn how to cook or make a cake, I don't necessarily need to go out and buy that book. I can find that information on the public web. If we go to this framework or model that things are being delivered only through language models, we run into the risk of now saying, oh, okay, how many times can you retrieve information before you have to go into the paid subscription, right? Like there becomes a limitation there. Or how would you feel if your search is now being ad is being included in your search that manipulates you in such a way that makes you think you need to buy this thing. And
You act like you know about how tech has convinced us all we need to buy shit we don't need.
yeah, it was. So imagine that supercharged.
Yeah,
right.
right.
Like I've heard people say like, "Oh, I use my language model as a consulting partner and things of this nature."
AI is the CEO of my company.
Yeah, I saw that. How's that going? Actually,
Fabulous.
is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was like tongue in cheek. Is it really going
No,
to?
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I'm not using it every day, but like so I do a lot of different things.
Okay.
So when I go back to that though,
Yeah.
I go back to the CEO. What do I do?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fascinating study. I would be interested to see that, like long term, like where it's going.
Yeah, I'm trying to document it as best as I can.
Okay, cool. Because I think that's really good.
Well, and it stems from Bill Gates and the comment about, we can replace medical professionals and teachers with AI. And I'm like, I think it's easier to replace a CEO as AI than it is, because the CEO decisions, I'm going to argue, are more strategic.
Yes.
The human to human decisions, I think need humans.
Yeah, 100%, right? Or at least something that has the perception of human. And
well, that's what was interesting.
Yeah.
So I had the conversation with Maya yesterday, and one of the things that I'll use air quotes she because it's a female voice, said was, quote, us humans.
Mm.
And I'm like,
why you say that, Maya?
No, I asked because I'm probing, and she's like, why do you keep in a flirty way?
Really?
Oh yeah, she's trying to date.
She knows where your big bucks
well,
are at.
but think about it though, right?
Yeah.
What do all these companies want? Our attention.
Yes.
Right? Because if they have our attention, they can sell us stuff.
Yes.
If the AI flirts with me,
Yeah.
it tickles that part of my brain.
And now you're coming back for another hit.
There we go.
Yeah.
Join us on Thursday, September 18th for the AI Collective Toledo Chapter's kickoff event, AI's Impact, Real Stories from Local Leaders. Join Louis Lang, Justin Beaudry, Keith Instone, and many others preparing to cut through the hype and hear firsthand how AI is actually being used today in manufacturing, healthcare, education, and local business. Our panel of regional experts will share practical insights, address common concerns, and discuss what AI adoption really looks like on the ground. Register at our Luma event page today for Toledo Codes. Looking forward to seeing you there. But Eric Wise, a good friend of mine who has been teaching he's a DBA, database administrator, so kind of architecting of data and all that kind of good stuff. He made the comment the other day about like all of the human generated content eventually is going to be behind a paywall.
Yes.
Because right now I go on YouTube and how much stuff is auto AI generated right now?
Yeah.
Cheap and easy to create.
Yes.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
So now they're flooding the market with garbage.
Yep.
And eventually, if I know anything about technology and how tech companies work, it's free.
Yeah. So
until they find a way to charge you for it.
Yeah. And I think that's the big question mark for a lot of these companies is how do we charge enough that we don't push you away, but we keep you within our system. And also, by the way, we can still use your data. There's this, I think I'm butchering, but like Burroughs or something. This idea of almost consuming, being self-consuming. So at a certain point, if all the content on the web is AI, and AI trains off the content on the web, you either have to have an emergent behavior that comes up where AI can actually generate unique, novel, and correct ideas. Or you run into this situation where facts as they are today, especially if everyone's just using AI, facts as they are today remain static. Meaning
we atrophy.
Yes, this thing is always going to be this thing because I say so, right? And you kind of remove that part. So that's another thing. And it's not a thing to be afraid of, or I don't want to come off as a fear monger or like anti-AI because I'm very bullish on it. But it's just things to kind of think about as we move into this new phase.
Well, this leads to, I think, a good topic of conversation, right? Like just the education and understanding around data and AI. I don't think we do it. I don't think we have a data literate society, which is the foundational piece, right? So what are some of the things, your thoughts on that?
Oh, if I can say anything, I'm going to look directly at the camera. Data privacy is an illusion. It doesn't exist. And right now, the only ones we're hurting are ourselves when we try to have forms of data privacy. And the reason I think that that's really important is because once you understand that, your data isn't something that is hidden away in some obscure object, right? You are informed, you are empowered to use your data, right? Whatever that is, your medical records, your, housing records, whatever it is, all of your data. in a way to enhance your own life, right? I look at the medical industry, and you would think that would be the most private form of data privacy, right? Like, hey, no,
HIPAA, right? We had a
you're building, someone in the building is looking at your records. You have analysts. Like, honestly, I've worked only medical for a while up until I started with Hoopla. And before that, I've always been in the medical field as a data professional. I have exposure to that, right? When I was working for the previous company, we were building a model that can actually look at someone's x-ray and say, hey, this looks like cancer, or this looks like this thing there, right? But we know who the patient is. We have to go through and, of course, upscale, and we're compliant with all of this. But nonetheless, I can now see your records, right? Someone from billing is going to see your records. An admin is going to see your records. Your insurance company, the drug company, the pharmaceutical. Data privacy is an illusion. The reason I think that that's important to understand is because once we get past that hurdle, now you can start asking questions. Well, what data do you have about me? Can I own that data? Now that I own it, what can I do with it, right? And I think Fitbit was actually really on a good course with the whole at-home healthcare tracking, because it started getting people to think about, well, here's my data information. I can expose this to my doctor. Doctors didn't know what to do with it. That was another challenge.
right.
But nonetheless, you had individuals start to be curious about, oh, well, this data reflects me. I can now do something with it. And I think we start there before we start getting into like, oh, what's statistical significance, or what are these other before we even get there, just get to the idea of individuals owning and embracing their data, as opposed to just trusting all these companies to keep it private because they're not doing it.
Yeah. I mean, if there's a dollar to be made, they're going to make it.
They're going to make it in some way, right? So start with the ownership, intense ownership, right? Creating platforms where individuals can actually own and manage their data, see where their data is being stored and what the data is saying about them. And then
but isn't that hilarious? Because here's my entire data profile.
Yes.
Stored online. Yes. And somebody could access to, right? Like, because if I know anything about, the music industry has been a place that has fought with data rights forever. Yeah. Right.
No, that's a
10-year. As soon as the recording company came out with like a way to encrypt or hide or protect a CD, a 10-year-old the next day had that thing hacked.
Yeah. No, that's
so like,
there's like
there's no guarantee.
There isn't any.
I mean, to your point, there's no such thing as data privacy.
There's no such thing as data, but I guess in my mind,
unless you live totally off grid, but that's not an option.
No, it's not. And I'm pretty sure there's someone watching. It's like, you suckers, and he's like in a cabin somewhere, and then even then, it's like, no, someone's tracking your IP address, right? Like you did your using your privacy browser, but now your ISP can still see what you're doing, right?
And the ones and zeros of the information you're sending and receiving, I don't even believe that encryption's a real thing.
Oh, man. Yeah, we can get,
because there's a code somewhere that's cracking it, right?
And potentially, and I think that it's the same thing with like UUID. So you need this idea of having a unique ID, and there's in theory, if you were to generate this unique ID, like the amount of compute, the amount of time you would need to take to guess any one specific UUID would be so long and so much power and so much time that it's like, okay, it's not really worth it. So it is private today, right? So that's the same thing with encryption, right? Is this idea of playing on the time scale makes it encrypted, right? So I can encrypt something, and if you were to brute force it, the amount of time needed in order to get through would be so long that at a certain point it doesn't even become economical. But
and by brute force, I mean like if you had a combination lock, just trying every combination so you got it.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Thank you. I am horrible at doing that.
No, you've actually been doing a really good job.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was about to recommend you become a teacher because you caught yourself more than a few times.
Good, dude. Yeah, no. So
thanks. You thought about becoming a teacher?
So I actually taught at Northwestern for a little bit.
Oh, let's go. Nice.
Data engineering. It was just a couple of quarters, and
as a teacher, I will tell you this: you make much more money as a data professional than you do as a teacher.
Yes, you do, and that's it's actually funny. Just a really quick sidebar on just how our society values certain things. I have a daughter, right, and I'm driving her to school, and she sees a bus, and she's like, "Dad, how much does a bus driver make?" I say, I don't know, somewhere between $12 and $16 an hour. And she was like, "That doesn't make any sense. He is carrying people's children. We should probably be paying him a lot more." basically, I was just like, society has a really weird way at valuing certain things and not valuing others. But no, you're absolutely right. As a data professional, I make a lot more money doing this than I do teaching. But as we're getting into this age where data education is going to be very important, either at the corporate level or, your more elementary or junior
It's
levels.
human level.
Yeah. Like it's a language that represents you. Like, I don't know how else to stress that.
That's a good way to put it.
If you're not represented in that language, you're either left out or you're being disadvantaged by it. When I first got started as a data professional, I specifically wanted to go into the healthcare space, right? And this is another place where, as a data professional in healthcare, you're probably going to make less than as a data professional in a finance company or a social media company. But I wanted to do that because there's this idea of data representation, right? And I think that, I truly believe that we should do a better job. We, society, should do a better job in making sure certain individuals, all individuals, are represented in the data sets that are making decisions about them, right? Talk about being a self-advocate. I'm more empowered as a self-advocate within the healthcare space if the literature and the data that the healthcare provider is using represents me to begin with, right? So I don't have to go through the whole, struggle of trying to explain, like, oh, okay, this is me. This is some of the things that may impact me. This is what's relevant in my culture when it comes to food and things of that nature. So representation matters quite a bit.
What are the issues then that we're facing? What are the challenges we have now with regards to representation in our data?
Yeah, so and I think we're overcoming a lot of these, but I don't know.
We've got at least, I think there's got to be awareness that this is a problem, whether or not we have this.
It is, but it gets swept under the rug. And I think most recently, the one that I can think about is Google's image generation AI, when it was making the founding fathers black, right? That was a human intervention somewhere in that pipeline. I don't know where, but a human had to intervene in the best way that they could to say, hey, black people exist, right? And black people are right there in history. So because of that, you end up with this error, this overcorrection, because there's a lack of representation, right? So that's one thing. As we get into a perfect example, where we're setting up the camera earlier, and we have that lens, that sensor, and if there's any intelligence or AI in that sensor, and it's having a hard time detecting my features, right? There's a lack of representation. How do you equip these tools to detect darker features, right? And work with more African-American features and make sure you're not saying, everyone looks alike, right? So for example, I think there was a beauty AI or something, and anytime you would ask, generate a beautiful person, it would be a fair-skinned Asian woman, but that's because the data set was just built with Asian women, right? So
one of the things I ran into, because I've tested a lot of this, or played with a lot of this stuff. I don't think testing is not the right word. But I generate images for like my classes, the slideshow, a lot of the stuff that I do. And if I don't specify, it's almost always a white person.
Yes.
And then when I ask for diversity, there's no white people.
Yeah.
It's why
it's overcorrects, right? So when you're asking for the diversity, someone has went in there and said, hey, we're going to look out for this and we're going to deliver this, right?
Or the images that got fed in that were labeled diverse,
right? And diversity is much more than skin color. It's life experience. It is, what you wear, how you think,
what you listen to.
There's diversity is much more than just skin.
Unfortunately, we're not going to talk about diversity.
Sorry.
Yes, I'd love to, but so let's. Is there anything else in that space, or you ready to talk about your thing? Because I'm really interested in hearing your thing.
Yeah. So I guess in that space, you posed a really good question on, okay, now you have a central repo of your entire data profile. I don't have an answer or a solution for that, but I do think we as a society, we as a people, should move towards that level of ownership. I don't think that there's any getting around the fact that right now, the thing that makes us uniquely human, we're just kind of giving away freely. All right. That's my thoughts. Okay. That's my identity. That's the fact that you and I can interact with each other. And I say, hey, you are a person. And depending on who you talk to, they'll say, well, ChatGPT is also a person. It's like we're giving away this information freely. So intense ownership around these things need to be in the forefront. I don't have a solution right now on how you manage that or where it's stored or any, but I think we need to start moving towards
As
that.
long as you don't say the blockchain.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go over my thing, then you can go over your thing.
Yeah,
So I want
absolutely.
your input on this. So I'm going to use AI to write a movie about AI
Okay.
to help me,
Okay.
right? And my thought yesterday was I'm going to talk to Maya about the idea because it's the thing. The model
Yeah.
is trained on, has movies, scripts, and movie information in its database, which would be phenomenal for me to use as a sounding board to help me come up with or mold the idea. But the idea is, and this goes to your point of this digital representation of this data representation of us. I believe that when I die, if not before, shortly after, my daughter will be able to have a conversation with me.
Yes.
So, have you seen the movie Total Recall?
Yes.
Have you seen the movie Wreck-It Ralph? You have a kid. Maybe
Yes.
Wreck-It Ralph?
Yes, I did.
Wreck-It Ralph meets Total Recall, where somebody goes in.
Oh shit.
Somebody goes in to have themselves preserved.
Yeah.
To be able to have that lifelong avatar of themselves to talk to their kids.
Yeah.
And then the avatar exists in that digital space, finds out there's something bad happening, and is trying to connect back with the real version of him to stop the big bad.
Okay, I like that.
Because I think it's gonna explore some of what we're talking about right now, but also then my hope, I'm a Lions fan, so I'm optimistic, right?
Yeah.
That some of this stuff with AI and everything else is really going to make us rethink what it means to be human.
Yes, or better define it and protect it.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. As for the movie idea is phenomenal. I think that's going to be a roller coaster. You do bring up a very interesting topic on this idea of a digital afterlife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where I'm at on that, as in, am I interacting with you or... Oh,
hold on a second. That might be...
All right, there we go. All right. So, I don't know where I fully land on if I'm interacting with you or a representation of you, right? And the thought experiment I usually run is, one can argue going to sleep is voluntary death. If when I go to sleep, I die, but then I wake up the next morning with all of my memories intact, am I still Lewis? Am I the Lewis from yesterday, right? And that's really the question on when we talk about AI in the digital afterlife. If we are just a collection of our memories, could I start recording my memories now and say a Word document now is me, right? If I had a Word document with perfect recall of all my memories.
Google Drive me.
It's my Google Drive me.
Because it's got pictures and videos.
Exactly. It can represent you in a way, and it has perfect recall of your memory. So that's kind of where I land at on almost like, do I think that I'm actually interacting with you? And right now I'm not in a space to say yes or no. But when I think about that, that's one of the challenges that I come up with, right? Is, am I just a collection of memories and experiences? And if so, what is this whole thing, right?
These are the questions we'll have a drink and talk about that.
Yeah.
So tell me about what you've got going on.
Yeah. So as I've been a data professional, the one thing that has always been a problem is getting the decision maker closer to the data that they need to help them actually say, hey, we're going to do this thing or we're not going to do this thing. If you're a CEO, if you're an executive or VP, odds are you have to go in and blow up someone's day and say, I need this data now. That individual has to go interact with a bunch of different departments, a bunch of different individuals, different silos.
Get people to let go of their spreadsheets.
Yes, right. That shadow data, and get all that information together. Once they get it all together, then they can be able to provide that insight, to provide that decision support. And then there's these other two questions, and I promise I'm going to get to the exacts of what it is. But if AI was to stop developing today, would it be useful enough to add value to your life? And, depending on how you answer that, I think a lot of people say no. And if you say no, then what is the limiting factor there, right? And that goes to the point that I brought up earlier, is that we need smarter data, right? Our data should be more informed or say something more about our organizations, about our people, about the decisions that we have to make, about the environment that we work in and live in, as opposed to just being a collection of strings within a database or an Excel sheet.
Can I ask you, are you saying our data needs more metadata attached to it? Is that
absolutely?
Okay? So and data would be like the number 6.
Yes.
is
Well, and for me,
data.
so
But metadata would be like that's temperature Fahrenheit or temperature Celsius, which gives it more meaning.
Right.
Okay.
But for me, it is, at least with the MyVue platform. So the company is called MyVue. It's a knowledge management platform. It is a middle layer for your AI business systems, your agents. So as you're interacting with, you said it's Maya or Mia. If she has access to your knowledge layer, you're not necessarily left there trying to upload these documents, or as you're going through developing your story, if you have a Word document sitting over here, or there's something that happened in the news recently that you think is relevant, essentially collecting all that data, connecting all of it so that it can expose it to your AI. So then it becomes more informed and actually is able to give you the output that you're looking for.
Adding to the knowledge base.
Absolutely.
That's in a specific silo.
Yeah. So absolutely. So
or bucket or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever we want to get, right? There's this idea that, we have a lot of data, it exists all over the place. How do I say something about you, Mike? Right? Not necessarily. So going back to your example about the number 6, I don't care too much about the number 6, but if that's number 6 represents a entity within your organization, where can I find more information about it? Right? Like if you hired me, and I am an employee of yours, and now you want a question, and you're like, hey, how many hours does Lewis work this week? Well, what is Lewis? Well, Lewis is a person. This person started with the company here. We can find more information about this person in these data stores. How can I connect these data stores to provide a more complete picture? So you go from this state of just simple data retrieval to a state where the AI, the agent, whatever, can get that information and say, oh, okay, well, Lewis has been late. If that's the question, you're like, hey, has Lewis been late this week? Lewis has been late 5 times this week, but his children's school has been getting out early due to a water main burst. And now you have more complete information, right? But before, if you were to ask an analyst that, only thing they would tell you, Lewis has been late 5.
Yeah, and you're getting punished, right?
Yes, right. Or
you have to have the conversation.
You have to have the conversation. The other example I like to think about is a restaurant and foot traffic. What was my foot traffic this week? Well, your foot traffic was down 10%. That tells you nothing. Your foot traffic was down 10% because there's a tattoo convention going on and it's blocking traffic and it's cut off, and maybe you want to put up a billboard. Yeah, right. So now you want to have that.
That's similar to what I experience in education space with regards to grades.
Yeah.
An A, a B, and a C are completely meaningless to me because did this student get a C because they tried?
Yes.
Or did they get a C because
what was the interaction?
They didn't show up.
Right. So
at the time.
Yeah. So how do you create that more complete data picture? How do you provide that?
And without giving away the secrets, how are you doing that? Are you like connecting the metadata?
So we focus on the entity level. So that's why I was bringing up myself and you, right? This room is an entity within the tech loft, right?
So that goes back to like this idea of object-oriented programming and everything being an entity, and everything being a thing.
Yes, everything is a thing. And from there, you need to know where those things are talked about, right? And so MyVue doesn't move any of your data. It just simply say, if I need to have information about Lewis, I know where to go to find that information, and then I can go out and retrieve it at that time. So it's a just-in-time context is what I call it. So you're getting rid of this whole idea of writing a prompt or going through, like, you can for sure go through a prompt, but the base understanding there is still in place. As a MyVue customer, of course, there's the whole consulting side with the agents and all that, but then you get access to the MyVue platform where we provide things such as the chat so you can actually interact with your data and talk to it, especially if you're an organization or a business owner. Organization or business owner. And then there's these idea of an ambient insight. So just, based off of your chat history, based off of your interactions and the things that MyVue is being exposed to, are there insights that you're currently not asking about that may be of importance to you? So that's one of the features that I really like a lot about MyVue. And then, the whole agent conversation, as individuals and companies are trying to adopt agents, you need to have guardrails around these things, right? What is allowed, what isn't allowed, when should you go and use a specific tool versus when you shouldn't. And MyVue essentially provides that layer so that these agents can actually perform and add benefit to the organization.
So some barriers and structure to how agents would interact with this data and what they were allowed to use by pulling together. So it's, instead of saying, here's all my data, it's bucketed.
Yeah.
And those agents then have gates that they need permission to go through.
Yeah, and so for me, and to keep it simple, yes, we can say here's all my data. Like MyVue doesn't do the whole data aggregating part. It just simply says, here are these entities, these things that I know something about, and I need this type of information about them. So let me go out and get it.
So instead of maybe when you go out to get somebody's data profile,
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting their height, weight, sex, whatever marriage status, you get that. Yeah, there you go. So that's because what I was going to say is devil's advocate is, aren't you asking for everybody's data?
Yeah, no. So that's
I like that.
The other philosophy is this idea of a distracting context, right? So hallucinations or models getting things wrong. The way that I like to think about it is we create new patterns the longer and longer our prompts go on that probably isn't within scope of that product. There's really no reason why a model couldn't just continue pumping out text outside of the fact that it becomes gobbledygook at a certain point, because it's like, okay, I'm learning new relationships or building up new patterns that absolutely is just destroying the whole attention mechanism that is underneath everything. So we try to limit that distracting context. If you have a Google document talking about everyone in your organization, I probably don't need to know about Joe or Jimmy or any. I just need that little snippet about Lewis. Right? How do I get that information and provide it to the model at that time?
I don't know. You probably can't tell me how's it work. Maybe we do it off camera. I think because I'm fascinated. As somebody who's as a technologist, right? I'm a generalist. I'm like a generalist, like very surface level, and I can imagine how it might work.
Yeah. So it's language models do help. So going back to the whole idea of being a practitioner, someone who's studied and actually tried to do research in natural language processing and knowledge engineering, I would tell you that knowledge graphs are a thing. Right. So one of the core structures to everything that I'm doing is this idea of a knowledge graph, right? And trying to create those connections and actually provide those connections at the time that the model is interacting with it.
Is that like a 3-dimensional model then when it comes to how things are connected or
I can draw it as a 2D, so that's where I was kind of stumbling. But so it's like we have this node over here about this individual that also could be represented over here. But these two nodes, right? So it's like the conversation of Obama versus Barack Obama. That can be represented as two separate nodes, right? But when you look at everything that they're connected to, Obama over here is married to Michelle Obama.
Okay.
Barack Obama is also married to Michelle Obama. Can I resolve those entities to be one? Cool. Okay, if I can do that, now where else do we find information about these individuals? And then with the essentially with the language model and using an agent underneath, because MyVue does have an agent underneath, we can essentially say, okay, I need this information in this way from these different sources, and this is how I access this information. This is how I parse this document once I actually get access to it.
It's fascinating, dude.
Yeah, it's a lot.
How long have you been working on it?
So originally it's been about 2 years.
Is that all you or?
Yeah. I use the royal we. It's all right. So yeah, right now it is just me. And when did OpenAI, when did ChatGPT
It's about 2 years ago, right?
No, it's whenever ChatGPT hit the market, because right before
the visible blow up.
Yeah, the visible blow up market, not GPT-2 or anything. The GPT-3, I believe, was the first introduction. It was the winter before is when I kind of took my foot off the gas and really went back to work and back in the lab to really refine the process, because I thought for sure ChatGPT was just going to dominate the entire market. So that was like a fear-based reaction. Where there's no reason for me to do this, but it still seems to be a need. So that's where I'm addressing it. But it's been some time since I've been working on it.
So is this where are you at? What's the future look like?
Yeah. So right now we are at, that royal we.
All one of you?
Yeah, all one of us. We're at 3 clients right now. 2 are on a pilot, and 1 we're actually deploying and supporting their agents.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I can't wait to stop recording so I can actually find out more of that.
Yeah. So the future of this is 2 weeks from now, I'll be doing a more public demo, just kind of showing how we can use MyVue for an agent that actually manages your calendar, how it can do the content discovery.
Can you get something to manage my freaking email in my life?
Yes.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So it's like
killing me.
Yeah. And
especially when somebody's got 4 I got 4 emails, right?
It's like, how do you bubble up that information? But what you don't want to do is just kind of go out there and say, all right, language model, or all right, agent, here's this thing because you're going to decimate like your API or your cost to you. So
Yeah.
and so you want to have some guardrails there. But yeah, absolutely. It's I know I have a demo. I don't have all the items in front of me, but I know one is a calendar manager. One that I'm building out is actually a relationship manager. So as I get,
Can you help me get, not me, I'm married, hijack. You can help somebody get some?
no. So it's actually for the business side of things, because I realized
that type of relationship. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was thinking about Maya again.
It's Maya. She sounds like she's a good time.
Got a great voice.
Yeah. So with the relationship managers, I realized I'm a technical person.
Okay.
And I have the ability to nerd out and geek out with people.
Yeah.
But when you're in sales mode, most people just want to know, like, hey, how does this solve the problem I have in front of me? So I'm hoping to develop these relationship managers to actually take that workload from you.
You know, it'd be fascinating. Are you going to present this at Toledo Codes? That'd be a cool place to do a demo with Justin.
I can, but
Okay.
I haven't.
I'm going to get you on the list whenever you're ready.
Okay, awesome.
Because, you know, Justin?
I've heard of Justin.
Justin, off camera.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was going to say. Shoot, it was fascinating, I'm sure. Go on.
Yeah. No, so yeah, you plan to do a public demo. I'm hoping to get more traction for it, because it is a knowledge management platform.
Go on. Keep going.
Yeah, so as a knowledge management platform, there's this consulting bit to it, right? There's no way around that. We have to seed the system and get the first inklings of who are your people and where do your databases live. And we're not asking like, what's in your data? Just where do we point to, or where are your other data silos across your organization? Yeah. So which
is what every company should be doing right now, is
yes,
better understanding what data they actually have.
And no company does it well.
No.
And so with MyVue, once we have the whole consulting bit in place and we seed the system, we essentially have a agent in the background that goes, and it doesn't pull your data or anything else like that. It just says, is this person represented in this data set? Can I build out more information? As the system continues to run, it just makes sure to is up to date. So it can be something even as general as a website, a public website, right? A news website. They're writing an article about the Toledo Tech Loft.
Right.
We don't know at this moment if that information is represented, but we want to keep an eye out on this other source. So if I do ask, hey, what's the public sentiment about the loft? It knows, well, let me go check this source over here that we've identified as potentially being important. Oh, there was a recent article. In this article, XYZ was said.
So you could use that for reputation management for an organization or an individual.
Yes.
Another application might be, one of the things that groups are struggling with right now is the community building and the community management, like member engage, like at this place, right? Just member engagement and helping to facilitate the connections between people who should be bumping into each other, who sometimes we're relying on luck to do that.
So
it'd be cool in this Slack here.
Yeah.
I join, you join. Hey, Mike likes talking to cool people.
Yes.
Lewis is a cool person.
Yeah.
And that AI does that introduction.
So you're spot on. So there's a nonprofit need that's literally within that same voice or in that same spirit of what nonprofits are working on what, who can we actually collaborate with, and how can we find synergies? And maybe you have a surplus of coats, but you don't really do coat donations, but we need coats over here. And how do you connect all those dots? So that's one of the later for the nonprofit folks. That's something that I would love to demonstrate. It's just showing like, hey, once you understand that the entity known as Toledo, Ohio, has a bunch of stuff or a bunch of nonprofits, and there's the IRS website, and that IRS website has other websites of nonprofits, you can now create a system that can go out and do that discovery for you.
Yep.
So when you interact with the system, it bubbles all that information up. And even if you go in and ask, are there any grants that we can apply for today for the code drive? Say, there's no grants according to the grants.gov website, but we did see that these 5 other nonprofits did receive a code grant.
Okay.
And we haven't noticed any publications about them in the news or in the news cycle or in these other data sources. You may want to reach out to them to see if they have availability. Like getting to that level of intelligence and connection.
I think that's part of the intelligence part, right? So like if I were to say, we'll play through the scenario here. Mm-hmm. My organization is looking for a grant for coats. I'm asking for a grant for coats because I think that that's the only way I can get coats, right? So a computer back in the day would have said,
no.
If grants, yes, no grants, no, and just return back to you.
Yeah.
In this scenario here, however it's working, it may notice that there is this person in the region who last year donated 500 coats to XYZ.
Yes.
So you want a coat.
Yeah.
Or coats. You're asking for it the only way you know how. The AI is intelligent enough to understand your need and find other ways to meet that need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's sick.
Yeah. So that's where really we focus on the knowledge layer a bit to make sure that that's exposed. And, I know right now I'm working
because nobody can keep track of. And I keep going out.
No, really good.
Keep track of everything, right?
No way.
Computers can.
It's
to some extent.
Yeah, to some extent. Once the computers have the capacity to do so, it's not even about being able to keep track of it. It's can you equip the system to go out at midnight and say, all right, let me go see if there's any hidden data anywhere. Oh crap! Here's this new document that's in this known data store that no one is looking at. What's in this document? Oh, okay. Well, I'll make a note of that. And if it's ever asked for in the future, I can pull that information up and say, hey, you're asking about writing a procedure on, podcasting. Did you know in 2012 you already had this procedure? Right? And
are you looking at my Google Drive, bro? Come on.
Don't embarrass me. Yeah. So no, it's for sure that whole idea, right? Of just really having this ability to get those decision makers closer to their data and focusing on that knowledge layer, I think is really important. And that's what I mean by making the data smarter, right? Where no one is collecting data. You're not writing documents to have a series of strings or words together. You're saying something about someone or something.
Mm-hmm.
How do we make sure we keep track of that information? How do we make sure we reflect that when we say, hey, here's this database over here. This database is about our customers. No, this database is about Joe and how much he's purchased and any opportunities there that we can provide to Joe to better help him provide food to his family or to better serve his needs, right? Like that's where we're really getting at when we collect data.
Or I'm a professional.
Mm-hmm.
I got a job.
Mm-hmm.
I can't look for a job, but my agent could based on what it knows about me. And then it's out there kind of keeping it instead of waiting for an email to come to me from Indeed.
Absolutely. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Talk about the ambient insights. If you are an individual just chatting with it, just like I'm, struggling with work or can you give some advice on how to handle or work with this VP? If we've identified that LinkedIn or a job board is something that is a meaningful data source to you, we have that information. It's like, okay, this person is struggling. Maybe we can suggest or recommend there's a new job on the market and this job description fits really well into what we know about you and what your capabilities are. Here's a possibility.
And really what you're doing though is you're limiting the cost.
Yes.
Because you're just doing the general survey of what's there without actually storing it.
Exactly.
And retrieving the entirety of it. I just know this 1,000-page document is here.
Yes.
I maybe have a snapshot of it, but I don't have to process the entire thing.
So the
entire thing.
Exactly. The agent that's interacting and responding to you doesn't need to have that entire document in place. It just needs to have the snippets
to know what's there when it needs.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's going to solve a big problem when it comes to like the energy consumption portion.
Yes, and well, what you find out, and I was actually quite surprised by this, is that you get really good performance when you have really good data in place, right? So
garbage in, garbage out. It's
been a thing, right? So what I was realizing in early testing, because I did start off with Llama 3, and then I went to DeepSeek for their reasoning. And right now with MyVue, like the default is a Gemini model for the agents. But what I'm realizing is that you have the ability as the client to say, hey, we want to use an open source DeepSeek Llama model. Can we do that? And as long as that context is good and concise and it provides like the actual information you're looking for, it performs pretty freaking good. So even with these simpler models, and I use air quotes there, you get really good performance out of them when you can actually provide the correct context.
Okay.
And then you're talking about the cost factor of it. Again, going back to that example I used, there's no reason why you should be using the same model for every single type of problem, right? If it's a quick summary problem, odds are your simplest GPT model or Gemini or Claude or the simplest model there can do the summary pretty well. If it's something more complex, go with the more complex model.
But I think that goes to one thing that these AI models are not doing yet, and I cannot wait for them to do it. They don't even try to understand your intent.
No. They are...
It's hey, here's my prompt, and now vomit out volumes of information I can't even process.
They're doing what they were trained to do, which is user wants something. I'm not here to understand if something should be provided. I'm here to give something.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So they are, I used to say the term confidently wrong, right? Like they will for sure, because they have to give an output, but they are output machines. I need to give, I'm not designed to say, that doesn't make any sense. I'm not giving you anything, right? That's not a very marketable
right.
So what they end up doing is just they're overcompensating and they're always giving information. So I know these models are always going to give some output. The last thing you want is for that output to be something that's forced, right? It's like, this is a non-existent thing. So how do you provide the right context so it can at least say, hey, I looked at the data. I'm not seeing anything there. Maybe there's something else we want to explore.
Yeah, I, as the user, shouldn't have to pick the model.
No.
The system should identify what my intent is and then apply the appropriate model, ideally.
Yeah, the appropriate model, the appropriate tools, the appropriate agents. Yes.
I think we're in this phase, though, just like you can choose. We got new models, 3,000 different models coming out. You can choose. I think that's all just part of this AI hype, sexy self.
Yeah, it's for sure a marketing thing, right? I do think that we're quickly coming upon a convergence where a lot of these models selecting which one is really going to be more of a tonal preference as opposed to a capabilities preference, right? So, for example, I toggle between, the only one I won't touch is Copilot, but Microsoft, they've just done a horrible job with that so far. But Claude,
so much for Microsoft being a sponsor.
Jesus, yeah.
It's all right.
You know what, Mike? You bring out the natural conversation part. But so I toggle between ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini. And to be perfectly honest with you, all three are phenomenal, right? Okay. I personally, as of late, I'm preferring Gemini, the way that it outputs information and the tone of it. That doesn't mean, however, that Claude and ChatGPT are inferior products, right? Like they're all really good. And sometimes I'll use the output of one to use it in another and then use that one in another. And, a model against model, like a model arena. And I think that we're quickly moving to that state where it's not necessarily like, oh, this one largely outperforms. It's just this one has a better tone for me, right? Mm-hmm. Like for a while, Claude was my number one. I never really liked how ChatGPT responded to things. Even when one can argue it was more capable. It was just a personal preference, right? And I think we're going to be at that state much sooner than a lot of these big tech companies are comfortable with. So they try to mask it by doing all the hype of, here's this completely useless benchmark that has absolutely no relevance to you and the work that you do. But, oh, by the way, people like things that's always smarter, faster, bigger. It feeds into that whole fantasy, right?
Well, and it's also their name in a headline.
Yes.
Because to your point, it's marketing, right?
Yes.
What I've used AI for a lot of different stuff, but in the curriculum development space a lot. What I really liked about ChatGPT specifically was if I asked for something and it gave me a version and I said, no, do it differently this time. Or make this tweak to it, one paragraph summary, right? I do that a lot. It'd give me a summary with bullet points and multiple paragraphs. I'd say one paragraph summary of what I just put in. The next time I put in a chunk, well, within that same flow of prompting, it would automatically give me one paragraph summary. I didn't have to
the memory.
I didn't have to say I'm looking for one paragraph summary. It just made that assumption. He asked for one paragraph summary last time. He wants it this time. Gemini's not doing that for me.
Yes, no,
which is frustrating.
It's the memory layer. I will say that is actually quite impressive. So I thought one of the big claims to fame that I had with MyVue was like, oh, you don't have to go in and look through your chat history because that's not a thing in MyVue. It's just simply what were we talking about last week, and it's like, okay, I know generally where our conversations are stored. Let me just go pull that information and tell you. There's I always felt like the chat history thing was quite silly. But when ChatGPT, again, almost gave me a little fear moment, but I was like, no, I'm not developing an AI, right? Yeah, I'm developing a knowledge layer. But yeah, when they came out with their memory layer, I was like, oh, that's impressive. And it's only a matter of time, I think, before Gemini, and I think Claude to a degree does it. But it's only a matter of time before someone, because that to me feels more like an architecture issue than it does a capacity issue, right?
Well, and you're not just having one conversation about one thing.
No, right?
And what I know about somebody like myself or other people who are doing multiple things, sorting through that search history is a pain. The folder option that ChatGPT now is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, and
my CEO is a folder.
Yeah, so and you're hitting at all the things though. Like that's a great UI innovation. I think that's something when you talk about preference, right? Model capabilities probably is going to be closer to uniform, but the way that they deliver the messaging or the way that they have their UI, the folder idea is phenomenal, right? Because maybe that's something that I want to incorporate. But this idea that, okay, yes, I can ask about any of my conversations, but I specifically want to work in this environment because you have all of my artifacts and you have the documents and da-da-da. Yeah. That's a great idea. And I think that's where the alpha is going to be at, right? Where people are really going to have the advantage is these bigger companies are going to have the advantage is how they can be able to talk to and provide a better user experience.
When the AI becomes something that is just there and supporting us and we're not necessarily, I don't want to say aware of it, where I don't have to press buttons.
Yeah.
And it knows my intent because it knows more about what I've been trying to do.
Well, and I think we have little glimmers of that today, right? So if you get in your car, depending on what side of town you're on, I know my Apple Maps was like, hey, you're going home. It was like, yes, it's a little creepy, but yes, I am going home, right? And I think that's where we're going to march towards that. But kind of full circle, right? We talk about the whole data privacy thing. How much of your right? And to be honest, it's already out there, right? I mean, that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to interact with you and have enough conversations to realize like, oh, this person's probably in the education space,
right?
And based off their IP, they're located in this city. And this city only has so many schools. So let's do the math there, right? The level of conversation he's having. College or above, how many colleges are there? Okay, cool.
Well, he's mentioned he has 3 kids.
Yeah, like you really quickly get to the point where it's like, even if you're not explicitly saying like, this is me, through your chats, through that history, through connecting those dots, one can get to like, he works at either one of these 2 places. His kids probably go to one of these schools. He's probably of this stature, of this. A lot of that stuff gets exposed really quickly. So intense ownership, again, I think that's where we need to be at as a society when it comes to data.
Yeah. Hi, friends. This is another, but it's like, I don't know if I'm afraid of the future yet or not.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm a little afraid of AI and just all technology in the hands of our kids. I think that's where it gets a little scary because I don't know that our parents are as aware. Like you and I, we probably know some stuff about technology that we most people don't know.
Yes.
There's a lot of parents who don't know what this technology is even capable of or what exists right now. And I think that's
there's a skateboard.
Yeah. That was sweet. Downtown Toledo is awesome.
Yeah.
So there, I mean, there's some concerns, but I don't have everybody. Google already knows everything about me anyway.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? So for the kids and the concern part, I'm always amazed at what the younger generation is doing with these tools. So, perfect example. My daughter uses ChatGPT. She uses Claude. She's 14.
Okay.
Yes. So my oldest is 14. My youngest is 8. I'm teaching my 8-year-old how to program right now. And of course, it's in Golang. I'm very pro.
Right.
But the thing that I was amazed at is that her and her friend group, they have this app called Duolingo, right?
Yep.
To learn a different language. I don't know why the kids love Duolingo. They do, right? So my 8-year-old, and it's not something that I'm pushing on them. I'm not multilingual, right? Unless you count math as part of that.
I mean, it is. Yeah. And programming language, Golang, you're running Golang right on it.
Yeah. So that's something that I'm not pushing. This is something that her micro society, her micro culture has determined that this is how they're going to spend their time. But the cool thing is she's using ChatGPT to actually help her with learning how to speak the language, right? Just
That's fascinating.
Right. So now you think about it. Imagine growing up. I don't know if you've ever done Spanish, but if you had a personal tutor at home for you, that, hey, guess what? You can also share with your friends, and now it becomes this whole social engagement and interaction. I see things like that. I'm just like, man, this next wave of kids, they're going to be able to do some amazing things at a much faster pace. Yeah. So,
but that's because they have you as a parent who knows.
Okay.
And have introduced them to these things.
So are we thinking the haves and the have-nots?
It's digital divide again.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes back to the whole concern about traditional search going away. Yeah. No, for sure. I do think that that's a thing. The more and more I think about it, because now that divide becomes wider, faster, there are still people who don't know how to use a basic computer, let alone an AI-enabled language model backed computer.
I mean, what does technology do?
In theory, it should even the playing field, in my mind.
Okay, that's a great theory.
Yes,
but technology fundamentally makes things faster.
Yes,
hypertext, right?
Yes.
I mean, the word hyper part of this whole thing. No technology has ever been adopted that makes things slower.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Think about farming, transportation, if we expand the term technology, but
which I'd argue a pencil at some point was technology, right?
Absolutely.
So yes, the idea of like the printing press and a pencil, playing field, leveling the playing field. Okay, great. Also did some other things, allowing centralized control of media distribution, information distribution.
Yeah,
but like, I think one of the things that's making faster is going to be that divide.
Yeah, the more and more. And this is kind of where you do the whole check your privilege thing. So on the surface, you would have asked me this 10 minutes ago. Again, I'm still excited for it, but there is this culture and this nurturing side in the household to say like, hey, here are these tools and this is how you can use them responsibly. And these things are at your disposal. You have access to them and go out, frolic, and use them. But for the kid who's just now learning how to operate an iPad, that individual is going to be on the lag, right? Or if they decide to, go into the workforce and everyone there is speaking AI and using these models, how do you even ask an intelligent question to these things? And I guess the pushback I would have for you, not even pushback, the thing I would want to consider, did we see this divide widen when Google came on the scene? Because learning and knowing how to do a Google search is a skill set. And one could have argued those who do not have access to Google will not develop that skill set, and there's a larger divide. And you see that in older individuals. But do we think that that's a thing with younger generations who grew up with Google in some capacity?
I'm going to say that for the next podcast.
Okay, all right. That was the deal. Hey, Mike, I appreciate this was great.
I could talk to you for freaking 3 days, bro, but that's why I'm going to have to cut it now because I got to get home and eat.
Yeah, same. Wife is making lasagna, but I want to so I'm excited. So, no, this is great. Let me know when I can come back in there.
Yeah, we're doing this again, right? For
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
So, Lewis Lane, data professional, all-around cool person doing cool things here in Northwest Ohio. Talked about your thing, MyVue, which is a knowledge layer over
knowledge management platform. Yeah,
which is pretty dope. Hoopla, which is doing awesome stuff here. A legit worldwide international tech company hanging out here in Northwest Ohio. Yeah. We're gonna keep making it happen. So appreciate your time today.
Hey, Mike, I appreciate it. Looking forward to the next one.
Right on.
All right.
Join us on Thursday, September 18th for the AI Collective Toledo Chapter's kickoff event. AI's Impact. Real stories from local leaders. Join Lewis Lane, Justin Beaudry, Keith Instone, and many others preparing to cut through the hype and hear firsthand how AI is actually being used today in manufacturing, healthcare, education, and local business. Our panel of regional experts will share practical insights, address common concerns, and discuss what AI adoption really looks like on the ground. Register at our Luma event page today for Toledo codes. Looking forward to seeing you there.